Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. I am Stephanie Pulowski, commissioned lay minister with this church. It is May 22nd, 2022. With me today is a huge number of people. We have the Khasi Hills team, made up of Carol Washburn, Shelley Ross, Ann Van Cott, Maureen Porter, and Karen Litzinger. We also have Ellen Gosian, Director of Instrumental Music, the Nan Danick Dance Troupe, Heather and Paul Cunningham, Sue Orkvitz is our hymn leader, and Erica Shadowsong will be sharing a story. And as always, we have our wonderful tech team of Paul Cunningham and Will Snavely. We are so glad you have chosen to be with us this morning. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome. We are working for justice wherever the heavy weight of oppression has dug into the fabric of life. I am live in our sanctuary along with some in person and those on YouTube. I have with me today volunteers and staff all working to bring that worship to you. On behalf of this entire team, thank you for being with us this morning or whenever you are watching on YouTube. If this is your first time with us, we would love to be in touch with you. If you have not already done so, please go to our welcome desk in the atrium, or if you're on YouTube, visit our website. Just Google First Unitarian of Pittsburgh and sign up for our weekly newsletter found at the bottom of the page. You are also invited to join us for social time on Zoom following this live worship. To get a Zoom link, please send an email to firstunitarianpittsburgh@gmail.com. I invite you now to take a deep breath. Arrive in body and spirit, and picture yourself connected to all others who are watching today and in the future.
Good morning. We turn to our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. If you have a chalice at home, we invite you to light it at this time. We light this symbol of our faith, as do our Khasi Hill friends in India. The flame reminds us of the warmth of the spring and of the sun that brightens our souls and nurtures the land. May this flame burn bright in your heart and mind as we worship together.
thanks for everything thy goodness sends. Giver of all, we thank thee.
This excerpt is from Litzinger George, The Rhythms of the Field, Exploring the Poetry of India's Farmlands. Most agricultural traditions were passed down orally through the ages, and farming communities have ingenious methods of transferring knowledge through storytelling, poetry, legend, folklore, and music. The agrarian Khasi tribes have a vast repository of legends and folk tales called fawar, passed down through generations in the oral tradition. They were related around the family hearth, often accompanied by a dewy tara, a 4-string Khasi and folk music instrument of Meghalaya that resembles a guitar. The fawar legends were also sung while working in the rice fields.
Good morning, everyone. So the story I'm going to tell you today comes from Northeast India, and it is the story of how the goat came to live with mankind. As you know, in our agricultural ancient history, goats are one of many animals that ended up becoming domesticated. So this story seeks to explain that. So a long time ago, goat used to live in the jungle with lots of other animals. One day, Kablang, who was a name of a goat, she went and she was seeking food, and it was spring like it is today. It was just nice out, and of course with the spring comes the smell of all the pollen and all the trees and flowers and things growing. So it just made her even hungry and hungrier. So she went deeper, deeper, deeper into the jungle than she usually did, and she started to eat the leaves off of some bushes because the grass just wasn't good enough. The leaves smelled so good. She was eating the bushes, but she didn't realize that hidden in the bushes was a tiger until she heard a low growl. And she started shaking from head to foot. She saw the tiger blinking out from the bushes. The tiger came out and said, "What are you doing here?" She was shaking so much and she was so nervous that she said the wrong thing. She said, "I am eating kla." But kla means tiger. What she meant to say was, "I am eating sla," which meant leaves. The tiger did not find this amusing and was really upset until he noticed, you know, goats have that little beard, male and female. Well, the goat saw the beard, and it reminded him of a hunter's lance coming after him because it was decorated. And so it just reminded him of that. And all he could think when he saw this goat trembling with this formidable beard was that this was a terrifyingly powerful animal that he had never met before. So when she said, "I'm eating tiger," and he saw that beard, he took off running. Now you would think that the goat would be like, "Oh, great, thanks for, wonderful, good luck." But she was really upset because she had almost gotten eaten. So she couldn't let it go. She wandered to and fro ever after that day, complaining about how defenseless she was, how she could never do anything if she was faced with another tiger. She didn't even know why the tiger had run away. One day, she was moaning and moaning and moaning about this out loud, and a tiger happened to be nearby. The tiger saw her and he was about to start to run away again, but then he heard her saying, "Oh, that tiger ran away from me because it thought I was a powerful animal, but if only he knew the truth. I have no defenses. I can't do anything to protect myself. I'm the weakest animal," and on and on and on. Well, the tiger was furious that he had been taken advantage of by this weak little creature. So he jumped out, he tackled her, he attacked her, and left her nearly dead. She barely escaped with her life. Now the tiger, having defeated this beast that he had been afraid of, went around proclaiming to the entire jungle and all its predators that he had beaten this animal. Meanwhile, the goat went back to her people, and they held a council, and they said, what are we going to do? Every single predator is going to be after us because somebody told them that we have no defenses. So they decided finally that they would have to reach out to mankind. What else could they do? Mankind was the only one that was powerful enough to deal with these predators that would come and hunt them with their spears. Well, they went and they spoke with mankind, and mankind said, well, we can't come and live in the jungle with you, but you will have to come and stay with us in our home. And so that is why the goats left the jungle, and they stayed with mankind ever after. Thank you. For the kids who are with us today, before we go after the, we usually go after the story. Before we go, we're actually going to be treated to a wonderful dance and drumming. So please stay, and I invite our dance company to come up.
Namaskar, and a very good morning to all of you. This is an honor for Nandanik Dance Troupe to be a part of this amazing, beautiful, heart-touching event. We present before you Jagannath Lairenjam. He is originally from Manipur. He now resides in New York. He'll be doing the drumming. And I'm Nandini Mandal, the artistic director of Nandanik Dance Troupe. He'll be presenting Sankirtan. Sankirtan is also a prayer song, a prayer drum, prayer music. Sankirtan is an integral part of Manipuri life. From birth to the last day of your lives, Sankirtan is involved in every day of your life. So they sing, dance in front of the temple, in the wedding, in the village square, everywhere. And this one is in Tanchep Tal. Tal is the rhythm. It's a very complex rhythm pattern. It's called the Tanchep. And the language is in, is there a song, Jagannath? No song, just drumming. Pung Cholom. So the mridangam, that we call the mridangam, the drum, it is also called pung in the Manipuri Meitei language. And the Pung Cholom is the dance that he will be performing. He will be doing the drumming and dancing at the same time, and I'll be just keeping beat with the manjira.
What a treat. Thank you. Nandanik. Did I say that right? Yes. All right. We're ready to go. The kids are going to head out, but we get to be treated to some drumming on our way out instead of singing, so make sure you dance. You guys can do that, right? You can do that stuff, right? You guys can do that. Thank you.
So he has to play now while the kids are leaving? Yes, just drum. Just a simple drum. Just a rhythm for the kids to do.
What an incredible way to wake up on a Sunday morning. Our religious community is made up of volunteers and staff creating and hosting a variety of programming, even as we stay safe during this time of pandemic. We rely on your financial support. Please take time to reflect on your ability to financially support this community. Donations by check may be mailed to the church office. Electronic donations may be made online through the church website or by texting GIVE to 412-435-1050 and following the instructions.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this
Thank you. That's always been a favorite song of mine. We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows. Our thoughts and prayers and love is sent to the people of Buffalo, the victims and their families, after another tragic, horrific mass shooting. We remember those who are experiencing losses of various kinds and those facing health challenges. We are aware that many are faced with heightened difficulties presented by these times that continue to be challenging for us all. May we find joy in the connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us continue to care for one another and for ourselves in all the ways we can. We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows, whether spoken or unspoken. Let us take a moment to be quiet together. You are invited into a few moments of silence, personal meditation, and prayer. In the words of John Gibb and Sarah Gibb Millspaugh, adapted from our Buddhist tradition, as we have been blessed, so we bless one another to be a blessing. Breathe in, breathe out. This breath we share with all that breathes. Feel the love of the universe flowing through this community, into you, and out into the universe again. Let the love of all the universe, your love, flow outward to its height, its depth, its broad extent. You are more than you know, and more beloved than you know. Take up what power is yours to create safe haven, to make of earth a heaven. Give hope to those you encounter, that they may know safety from inner and outer harm. Be happy and at peace, healthy and strong, caring and joyful. Be the blessing you already are. That is enough. Blessed be. Amen.
The recording I'm sharing of Spirit of Life in Khasi was done by a group of Khasi Hills women when I was on a pilgrimage in India in 2015. It is in your order of service, and I invite you to be adventurous and sing along. We've done this before, and I will share that the first word is not in the recording, so you are starting with Jin Kim.
Dance
Good morning. My name's Ann Van Cott, and I'm happy to be part of the Khasi Hills team. I'm going to be reading you a poem from the book of Lithika George's called The Rhythms of the Field that explores the poetry of India's farmland. For who could be better equipped to write than the farmer? Who observes the change of seasons, the brightness of the stars, the formations of the clouds, and the fragrance of rain in the air as astutely as the farmer? Who could fathom the moods and shades of mountain, sky, earth, and rivers to create a masterpiece of art, if not a farmer? Who could speak of love more eloquently than a farmer, whose proximity to the elements of nature gave him an advantage to equate his emotions to the changing seasons, the mystery of rain clouds, the flight of birds, and the unfurling of a tender bud?
You may want to enjoy your order of service because it has some wonderful pictures in it that are going to go along with the homily. So I say to you, good morning. I am Kong Maureen, and I'd like you to join me in saying the Khasi greeting of Kublai together. Kublai, right? Kublai is like the Hawaiian word aloha. You can say it when you meet someone and as a blessing upon parting. So we'll say it together again at the end. It's a wish for well-being, for welcome, and for prosperity in new endeavors. Kublai from the heart is a way of reminding us that a beginning is sometimes also the end of something, and it's a time of transitioning toward as well as transitioning away. And you know, spring is a lot like that. Spring means that a new era of health and well-being hopefully are on its way. Spring is a time to be grateful for what we already have accomplished together. Spring is a time to look forward to good things to come. And it's about moving away from things like quarantine and isolation. So it's actually, this is the first time I've been in church in like years, so it's so nice to see real people versus through the screen. It means a lot. Because I think that for me, and hopefully also the things that are embodied in the Shadshuk Mensyam Festival, means that we are also moving toward ways of appreciating one another's traditions and deeply held beliefs, and coming into a more reciprocal relationship with our partners and relatives in the Khasi Hills. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about things that are about spring and the Shadshuk Mensyam Festival, so we can enjoy them together. Think about what comes to mind when you think about spring. Gardening, new fruits at the farmer's market, spring cleaning, laying the groundwork for future construction. All of these take work, collective work, and many people being in rhythm. So I decided that in addition to the bright, colorful yellows and reds and oranges of our team and the dancers, I would also bring and share with you this cloth that I decided to wear today, because it really reminds and embodies the 20-year partnership, it's almost 20 years that we've been in relation with folks of Unitarians in the Khasi Hills. And this is a cause called a Jain Kershaw, and it marks this as a kind of work cloth worn and used by Khasi people. When I was in pilgrimage with the UU group in the Khasi Hills, I saw people of all ages, all genders, wearing exactly this cloth as they worked. At the school that's right in Karang, there's also a children's home, and we got to visit that school. And I was actually really honored because as a part of the group left, I was taken over and invited to help work on creating supper. And so really was a wonderful honor for me because not only was I needed, which I don't have a lot of skills in cooking, but they needed those particular work pieces, but inviting me to get down to work automatically meant putting on my Jain Kirsha. And the person who I was partnered with for most of that day to do the hours and hours of cooking and hard work that you do to harvest the spring vegetables is a person who I'd like you to meet because her name is Unita. Because her family was so proud of being Unitarians, they named their daughter after that. And, right, things we can think about. That when I finally was able to join the rest of the folks and serve supper that day, I really felt needed. I felt like my particular contribution, my work, really mattered. and being needed is a blessing. Knowing that your skills count, and knowing that you as a young person are needed to contribute to the rest of the Khasi communities, that's also something that's really important. And it's something that is celebrated as they raise their youth and go through different kinds of leadership programs, whether it's the community organizing group that you have a youth council to help make important decisions about the whole community, or at school, or at church, or in dance schools, where you learn how to dance and do these amazing kinds of rhythms and synchronized movements to be able to be in rhythm that we're having such a pleasure here with the Nandanic group to share with us today from Northeast India. One of the fun things that I saw is people wear Jane Kirsha all the time because they're always working in the Khasi Hills. But it's also a time for having fun, and it's a time also for identifying as being Khasi. And so one of the websites that I looked at to be able to see how this particular cloth is part of many, many forms and times of life and doing the work that you need to do in spring was at a youth leadership forum. And of course, the kids all brought their Jane Kirsha because in addition to doing leadership skills, they were going to be doing other kinds of community work. But what they did then is they turned their Jane Kirsha around and wore them kind of like superhero capes. And I thought this was a great way to see all these modern teenagers, in 2021, adapting this, because it's really part of living traditions. And this kind of living tradition of belonging, of being needed, of knowing that you are part of one Khasi, and mostly Khasi Unitarian group, is something that you see absolutely front and center at the Shadchuk Mansem Spring Festival. And so it's a celebration that focuses on the hard work that they've been doing all year, and the work that's the basis for forming the kinds of relationships that unite them as Khazis. Adults give speeches, kids are the ones who are taking center stage at the giant dances. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about 3 kinds of relationships that are embodied and featured there at the Shadchuk Mansem Festival and at the work leading up to it. And if you'd like to see that, this particular picture you can look at on the side. You can see one of the large dance assemblies. So this is on the Viking parade grounds in the capital of Shillong. And here tribal people from throughout the Khasi Hills in Northeast India gather to honor their indigenous roots and their living heritage. Over 3 days of celebration, collective dances and events celebrate their optimism and hope for a rich harvest in fall. And they do that already in spring, not wait till fall gets there. They dance in rhythm, showing the world their collective pride in living traditions. Because in Khasi Unitarianism, God is one. They are mother and father. They're nature and humans. They're past and future. They are family and the community that surrounds each family to be able to help them survive. Life is an ongoing cycle of continuous forces of regeneration, belonging, caretaking, and nurturing the new generations. Crops flourish, children grow, and people dance. The main communal dance is the one that's in the picture here, and it's called the Dance of Peaceful Hearts. Children through teens dress in their finest traditional regalia. Everyone wears elaborate apparel of red, gold, and green, and yellow, and that's why you see that here all the way throughout our service. The girls' heads, if you can see kind of closely here, they're graced with silver crowns. How precious the girls are, adorned with orchids. Just as precious are the boys who dance with a many-layered red silk turban. Embroidered tunics and ceremonial swords are the very same ones that their parents had and that they used and danced with when they were young people. Jewelry and beaded sashes are also passed down across the generations. So here you see relationships of continuity. Continuity between what we do in spring and what we hope to harvest in fall. Continuity between the generations. Those proud young dancers embody gratitude and fortitude out on the grand parade grounds. Shadchuk Mansem is also about relationships that showcase complementarity. At the central part of this dance of the peaceful hearts, young women and young men each play a necessary part and a complementary part. The girls dance in the center, forming a circle, and the boys dance around them in a framing square. Gendered roles are very distinct in the Khasi Hills and in these dances, just as they're evident in the very differentiated kinds of regalia that the boys wear and the girls wear. And this makes so much sense if you think as the Khasi Unitarians do. The world is alive. God is omnipresent as mother and father to each little growing seed. That tender seed we heard in the song, right, is animate. It propels its tendrils up toward the sun, the yellow sun, and the long, soaking, deeply satisfying monsoon rains. The forests of the Khasi Hills are alive. They're different layers, just like different genders, of the different tree canopies, each shelter one another and provide for one another. God, our mother and father, is alive, as the hymn said, right, that we sang earlier. God is visible in the very flowers that bloom about our feet and the tender grass so fresh and sweet. Everything is very visible that it depends on the interconnected web of all existence of which we are a part. Men's nurturing and women's advocacy are both needed for families to be in right relationship. Nature teaches us how to be there for one another because in tribal society, people thrive in connectedness, not in isolation. That's the kind of relationship building that you see acted out at Shadchuk Minsem in an everyday. The teachers pass this on to the students with the stories they tell, like you heard about our place in the world, our relationship with other animals, and our need to do work that's meaningful and needed. So Shadchuk Minsem also is a way of showing the complementarity between men and women, between the facets of God, our mother, and our father, and the young dancers who embody the work that they'll do as adults as they dance in circles and use their different pieces of their regalia. They show the work that they're going to do as husbands, as wives, as brothers and sisters, among one Khasi people. And thirdly, Shadchuk Minsem is about the relationships that showcase cultural sustainability. At the Spring Festival, sustaining this culture is on a grand scale, but it's only for a short time. At the Annie Margaret Barr School that we support, they do this on a daily basis. So since 2016, our funds have been used to be able to help them add the upper secondary school, the higher secondary school in grades 11 and 12, right there in the village. And this is so important because Khasi youth come right to high school and stay there instead of having to go to the capital. And now the school is becoming so successful, you're getting kids who come from other villages and walk to school to be able to come to the school that we feel that we're part of. This is really essential if the students are going to be able to maintain their language, their folktales, their dances, right, and the agricultural wisdom of Khasi culture. I'm really happy to say, and you see here in the flyers and in our conversations here, that this is a really successful model, right? The school is bursting at the seams. If you think back just to 6 years ago, we only had 2 students who really braved it, kind of gave it a chance. We're going to do high school in the town. They were going to show the world what Khasi people could do, just like they do out there on the parade grounds. And the 2 of them were so bold. Then there were 5, and then 11. And this year, if you look on the back of the program, this year there are 32 students, boys and girls, who are staying through high school in the community that we look forward to being able to celebrate that they're going to be graduating. And what's even more amazing to me as far as looking at the hard work that Khasi people do all the time is the other picture is our 2 teachers. Can you imagine running a high school with 2 teachers? This is Lamberlang and Altresha, and there's a nicer picture of this out right in the vestibule for you to be able to see. These 2 teachers provide all the opportunities to be able to have the kids have enough knowledge and skill to pass the regulated state leaving exams. And our funds help sustain them. We still donated, and you helped to be able to make it possible that even during quarantine, these 2 teachers were out there. They tutored the kids, they met with the kids, and we still have a 100% pass rate of high school graduates at this school, thanks to Altrisha and Lamberlang. And it's really an amazing group of people who are dedicated there, because it's not just one festival or one school. The main message, too, is that this relationship is about sustaining their culture within the whole larger village. So they've been really busy also in the last couple of years doing more than being a school in isolation. They have strong relationships with their community. We help them provide the seed money for them to scale up. And so this last year, they qualified for a government grant to add raised garden beds to the whole schoolyards, right? So now they're going to be able to show native foods, native crops, and boost the nutrition of local families. And with this climbing higher secondary school enrollment, they earned another grant to be able to put in an athletic field. So now they have a place to play basketball and soccer so the kids can be more active. And work crews of students, teachers, and villagers worked last year during the quarantine to rebuild the native fish pond that they brought back to life. It hadn't really been working until Annie Margaret Barr herself was there and set it up in the 1930s. Now they have a sustainable local source of protein to gain even more self-sufficiency. So much work, so much to celebrate there. This all shows how these larger celebrations are part of daily life and really lead to cultural sustainability of traditions passed down from teachers to their students, including learning to dance, of course, to be ready for Shadchuk Mansyam. Cultural sustainability via the school garden and the community fish pond that diversify village access to local food. When the young dancers take the energy that they gain by being part of Shadchuk Mansyam every spring and bring it back to school, they embody that communal vitality that keeps Khasi Unitarians thriving in their homelands. In closing, it's so good to know that we're part of a global family of Unitarians. We don't always see them other than in ways we can do this to make it more visible for you. We know that every person is needed. No matter our gender or age, we are welcome and wanted to join in critical springtime work done in parallel here and there. Our larger Khasi relations are full of ideas for us to undertake together, and they invite us to be in right relationship to help them scale up and achieve their dreams. Our fellow Unitarians welcome us to work alongside them on the projects that they deem most important for their tribal sovereignty and ecological sustainability. Inch by inch, row by row, our seed money and their labor will ensure another bountiful harvest among proud Khasi youth. So the Khazis are doing their part, and so should we. At the end of the service, you're going to be receiving some scrolls that have some more information about the progress and some better pictures from here, and also seed packets of zinnias, yes, right, in red and yellow and orange for us to celebrate and to sow in your own garden. At the congregational meeting that follows the service, we also will continue talking about moving from hope to action with environmental justice. And at the very end, the wonderful, wonderful Nandanic dance group will share one more of their own dances from Northeast India as we dance our way out of the service. So think about being part of Shadchuk Mansyam as you dance and hear the rhythms and celebrate, because it's spring finally, people, right? So tie on your Jane Kershaw, get ready for work. Let's be in sync with our Khasi Hills brothers and sisters, and then let us proclaim together, Kublai. Kublai! All right.
Please rise and join me in singing hymn 355, We Lift Our Hearts in Thanks.
Of those who helped them yield, and boast the gifts of hope and love.
please remain standing and read with me as we extinguish the chalice. Words that are printed in your bulletin and words that are said by UUs around this country. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please be seated.
The Khasi Hills team is offering a creative postlude and two-part benediction. Everyone will hear recorded music from last month's Shadsuk Musim Spring Festival in Khasi Hills. For those physically present today, Shelley and Carol will be distributing a special scroll and seed packet, along with Maureen greeting you at the exit, and be processing out to the garden where the dancers and our wonderful drummer will have a very, very brief festival dance and second benediction. And just to mention, those of you who are joining us online, those beautiful pictures are at our website at First Unitarian Church, and an opportunity to donate, which is also in the scroll, hoping to close the $2,500 gap by the end of this church year. So I offer these benediction words. May we go forth with an appreciation of our connection to the world, to the land, and to our Khasi Hills sisters and brothers. And the dancers and drummer can go out first. The music will be on overhead, and we'll hear drumming out in the garden. Go away. Yeah, you can do a little drumming while it's going on. We've got a postlude from Shadsuk. Here we go. Okay, everyone can head on out to the garden now. Get your scroll, your seed packet. Thank you for joining us. Those of you online, you'll get to enjoy a bit of the music here as we process out to the garden for the second benediction.
Khasi